Feast of the Assumption or Dormition of Mary is one of the most ancient holidays in memory of the Mother of Jesus. As I mentioned at the beginning of the Mass, Christians both in the East and the West celebrate August 15th as a big Marian holiday. And one would think that the Church would find a better reading for this occasion. For if you look at the Gospel text assigned for this holiday, it has nothing to do with the glory of Mary. It has nothing to do with how important she is and was to Jesus. Think about for a moment about this Gospel passage. Mary was told by an angel that her auntie, let's call her Elizabeth, who is an elderly woman, is pregnant, perhaps in the third trimester already. And even though she was newly pregnant herself, she travels in haste to help Elizabeth, to be a handmaid for Elizabeth. If you have ever been pregnant, you know that the last trimester is no fun. Imagine being pregnant in your 50s or 60s, as probably Elizabeth was. And Mary, being concerned for Elizabeth and not worrying about herself, is offering her help, her presence to Elizabeth. What a strange passage to be read on the Feast of the Assumption of Dormition. There is nothing really of importance or glory of Mary in this text. This text doesn't look Mary like a queen of heaven and earth. This passage may look Mary like a handmaid, like a helpful neighbor, like someone who is selfless, compassionate, and loving. Not like the Mary from our stained glass window to your left-hand side, over there flying on the clouds with angels sitting on both sides of her. This image of Mary from today's Gospel passage is quite disconnected from the glory of the day, the Assumption of Mary. Mary goes to heaven, and yet this passage is so down to earth. As a matter of fact, most of the passages speaking about Mary are very much down to earth. There is not many glorious sentences in the Bible about Mary. For the first time we meet her as a young virgin teenage girl when Archangel Gabriel arrives with good and scary news. Mary, you'll be pregnant. The next time we see her traveling to Bethlehem, then visiting before Bethlehem, visiting Elizabeth, then Bethlehem, then there was about 12 years of nothing. Mary goes to Jesus, who is lost, and she is losing her mind looking for her son. How many of you mothers have been there? When you look around, where's my baby? You are ready to call 911, raise all the hell because you can't see your child. Mary was in your shoes. Next passage is when Mary pushes Jesus just a little bit over the edge to perform the first miracle. Mary was the one at the feast, at the wedding feast in Cana in Galilee, who said to Jesus, "Hey, look, they're out of booze." And Jesus, as a good son, obeys her and provides more alcohol. I'm thinking they could have been Polish. Next time Mary appears in the pages of the Bible is when she wants to see Jesus, and his disciples tell him, hey, your mother and sisters and brothers came for a visit. But Jesus seems to be a difficult child and says, who is my mother? Who is my brothers? Who are my sisters? You are my family. Imagine how she must have felt. It's almost like your teenage son saying, I can't stand you. Yes, we have been there, haven't we? Next time we see Mary is at Golgotha, at the foot of the cross, as she is one of the very few faithful followers of Jesus, faithful to the end. Really, there is nothing glorious or uplifting about any of these passages with Mary in them. It is difficult to choose the best passage to define her life on the Feast of the Assumption. Again, Assumption and Dormition celebrates the death of Mary and her journey to heaven. And yet the Church has chosen this passage to define her life. Mary, as we witness her today, is defined by her selfless love for Elizabeth, by her compassionate concern for her auntie. This is how we define her on the Feast of the Assumption. And perhaps it gives us an excuse to ask ourselves, how will we be defined at the time of our Assumption? What will be your defining story when people remember you? What passages from your life will they retell as they gather to speak about you, to remember you? Will they speak about how many zeros was there in your W-2 after comma? Will they speak about the cars you drove? Will they speak about your titles, diplomas, achievements as they remember you? What will be the story that they will be telling about you? What will define you as people remember you? Of course, when you look at Ginny and Joe, we know there will be plenty of stories to be told, and I hope to hear some of them tonight. But what are the stories that define us? The story of love between two people, a love that has lasted for 50 years, that has survived some storms and beautiful moments, that has given life to wonderful children and grandchildren, stories of sacrifice, of selfless love, of dedication, stories of faith. I'm thinking, what will be the stories they will tell and retell at my Dormition? Will there be the stories of my seminary grades, which sometimes I barely passed? Will there be the stories of my nice BMW? Or will there be the stories of my crazy parishioners and all the funny things we have done together? What kind of stories and narratives will people speak about when they remember you? Will there be stories of glory, or just those simple moments like from today's gospel? We don't realize, but these very simple selfless moments of service end up defining who we are. Those days that you think are so gray and insignificant, in the end give meaning to your life. 365 times 50 years, who is good with math? 19,000 days. 19,000 days means 19,000 chances of wonderful stories. Of stories of love, dedication, faithfulness, compassion, selfless service. Each one of us is still alive. Each one of us can write and create these stories. Make sure that when people speak about you, that when people remember you, your stories will be really significant because they will define you at the end. Amen.